Here we are. Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday Eve. Another episode of Fuji's Philly Flare. I'd like to welcome everybody tuning in tonight. Tonight, my guest is Mr. Juan Nammun, of the head coach of Frankford Pioneers baseball, seven seven-time All Public, All City mentor, coach, father. Juan, welcome to Fuji's Philly Flare.
Thanks so very much for having me on. I'm honored. Very excited to
Hey,
talk baseball.
it's, hey, we picked the right night. Free agency,
Right.
World Series is getting over, and now we're in the right in the thick of the MLB off season.
Yeah. Well, this is when the quiet stuff starts happening.
Right, big time. So, wanna just talking behind the scenes. Wanted to get into a little of where you're originally from in Philly. What
Sure.
got you into sports and baseball? If you could touch on that.
Yeah. I grew up. I'm a Frankford Boys Club kid. Played football, baseball, basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Frankford Boys Club. Um, but I spent a lot of my time in the Wissinoming Mayfair area, where my at the time girlfriend, my wife, where she lived, and so I'm a north Philly kid. That's where I grew up, and every day of pretty much my childhood where we were.
As you were saying, you grew up in the Mayfair slash Wissinoming section.
Right.
Yeah, and you told me your dad knew Felipe Alou, and you kind of
Right.
were,
So
you
yeah, growing up, I'm born in the Dominican Republic, and as
right,
as you know, being a baseball guy that you are, but baseball is a religion in the
right,
Dominican Republic. And my dad, one of my absolute, he's passed now. One of my favorite pictures that I have of him, he's standing at home plate, um, directly next to shoulder with Juan Marichal in
well,
baseball uniforms. And I grew up listening to stories that he would tell, and we would put on a game,
mhm,
um, and he would share his insight. And he was old school, serious baseball. But him and Felipe Alou grew up together. They
right,
managed together. And conversely, Moises Alou, Felipe's son, and myself, we had a relationship growing up, really, really early on in the Dominican
nice,
Republic, and obviously later on in life. But baseball has always been in the picture growing up,
right.
from before I was born to till this day.
Matter of fact, I just happened to notice you lifted your, I don't know if it's your right hand or left hand, but is that one of your championship rings you got
Yeah.
on?
So th- these aren't. I don't. We don't. I don't wear them too
Right,
often. On special occasions, I do.
right.
It's funny. My boys have fun with me. I have three sons, and they have fun with me. And anytime I tell them, like, "Hey, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing an interview," they
Right.
"Hey, don't forget, put on a ring or something." And I'm like,
That's that's
but
great.
but they're like, "Hey, you earned it." So
Wow,
so this is from the city championship.
nice.
So whenever when I do something special like talking to you, I'll put it on. Just it
That's
gets, it's just something fun that you can talk about.
right. I mean, hey, it's one of your, sure, that's one of your biggest accomplishments in your coaching career, if not winning
Yeah,
public, seven-time public league champion, but all city. I mean, that's you know
yeah, it's up there. It's up there. I'm
phenomenal
sure we're gonna.
accomplishment.
No, I'm sure we're gonna talk about a lot of things, but that will always go down for me as one of my favorite baseball memories. Is getting to that point of a season and playing a titan of a program and winning. Um, yeah, that's definitely something that I'll never forget. The guys, we ended up getting these, and for as long as you live, you get to celebrate together, right?
Well, actually, you won your all city in 2012, correct?
2017.
Well, that's my
2017, we
fault.
were city
Okay.
champs. Yep.
Who did you beat?
We beat St. Joe's Prep.
Okay.
We beat an outstanding baseball team that year.
Was there, I mean, between your team in 2017 or St. Joe's Prep, was there anybody that played in the majors at this
Oh,
level?
I don't know about their guys. I mean, they had guys lined up going major D1 programs.
Right.
I certainly can't speak on where they went. We had a bunch of guys that ended up playing at some nationally ranked programs ourselves. I mean, we've been blessed over the last 20 years, and even beforehand. I mean, obviously guys like Bobby Higginson that had come to Frankford. Bob Heffel, who I'm sure we'll chat about in a little bit, but like all these guys have made it to professional baseball. Esteban Melatiche, Shorty, one of the best baseball players that I've ever coached. But I would say the last guy that came through Frankfurt, I'm pretty proud of, was the last kid. I'm not sure about this, but the last public league kid drafted by the Phillies was a Frankfurt player in 09 out of Frankfurt. But that was Juan Nunez. Yeah.
Okay. Not to shift gears, but then Blair Thomas attend Frankfurt High School?
I mean, Blair Thomas was one of
Penn State.
One of the greatest running backs in college football history. He went to Penn State. I believe he got drafted by the Cowboys, extremely high, second pick maybe, or something along those lines. That played in the NFL.
Not to
correct
you, I believe he was drafted by the Jets.
Okay, but he did play for the.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think towards the end of I think Dallas. I believe that was his last stop. So.
Okay, yeah, but I mean Blair Thomas out of Frankfurt.
You were right.
Yeah. I mean, but if we're going to talk Frankfurt for a few minutes, Jyree Evans may be, one of the most decorated football players in the history of the NFL, and there's a Frankfurt guy.
Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ for New Orleans.
Oh my gosh! I mean, all pro and Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Zaire Anderson won a Super Bowl not too long ago with the Broncos. So yeah, we've had a fun run, but yeah. So that. Yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't realize, I knew Jahari Evans was from Philly, but I didn't realize he went to Frankfurt either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He was a Frankfurt kid that ended up going to Bloomsburg. Right. One of the greatest PSAC players in the history of that conference. And it goes without saying, he goes on to the Saints and just, he's on their Mount Rushmore.
I know you, I don't want to get into the football aspect of it, but I know you said he went to Westchester. There was a guy that played for the 49ers in 94, Lee Woodall. A linebacker. Played on the 95 Super Bowl 49ers.
I started at Kutztown University, where I actually had several classes with a guy named John Mobley. I don't know if...
Yeah, got drafted by the Broncos.
That John Mobley was actually, here's a crazy little fun nugget for you. At a Kutztown University, got drafted ahead of Ray Lewis.
Wow.
Think about that. But I remember watching John Mobley play against Lee Woodall when Kutztown and Westchester played each other. And it's just, you're talking about absolute amazing football, right down the road from us. But yeah, Lee Woodall was an absolute amazing football player.
It's kind of, I don't want to get it really in. Well, now you got me on it.
Hey, listen,
you look at Andy Reid finding a diamond in the rough like Brian Westbrook at Villanova, in your own backyard. That's
sure.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talent within an hour and a half drive of here, every direction. Yeah.
I mean, he obviously spotted Isaiah Pacheco up, right up the road in with Rutgers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't want to touch too much on it, but when you saw Lee Woodall go up against John Mobley, did you know that they were going to be?
They look different.
Yeah.
No, they look different. I mean, you see them on campus. I had, like I said, with John Mobley before I transferred over to Westchester. You can tell they were different human beings.
Right.
There was a ton of activity on campus, before the draft, a lot of people coming to watch, but knowing what I knew about sports, these guys were destined for something a little bit different than what most people were, for sure.
Right. Just to get back on Coach Peffel.
Yeah.
And, you played 4 years under him.
Yep.
Just to touch, can you touch on you playing at Frankford baseball under Coach Peffel?
I got to Frankford High School. I was a skinny little freshman kid, and I knew what I knew about baseball from my dad, and that just to watch it, just the next, so it's a minor strategy, but I knew history of baseball. I learned some of the finer points of playing and eventually coaching from Coach Peffel. But I remember in my time playing for him, learning so many little things, especially like how important the little details were in the game of baseball. As a 14-year-old kid, I was really, really fast and I could really catch the ball. But I didn't know how important it was to have the right footwork or, where my eyes should be or little things like that. And it wasn't, until I really had some success under Coach Peffel as a player that I realized, man, like there's so much more to this game from the inside that really, that's kind of where I started to want to be a coach. Like I wanted to give something back the way he was giving it to me and all our teammates.
Now you played the 4 years. You went to Westchester. What brought you back to Frankfurt?
Right before graduation from Westchester, they were having a program in the city of Philadelphia where if you student taught for the school district of Philadelphia, you were guaranteed a teaching position. There was a big teaching shortage around the year 2000.
Oh, nice.
And I wanted a guaranteed job. So I said, hey, even though I'm about to graduate from Westchester, which is, an hour and a half away, I'm going to commute and I'm going to student teach in Philly. And one of the, I took a gamble, I took a risk, and I called Coach Peffel. I said, I'm about to graduate, but I'm going to student teach in Philly. Can I assist you? Can I be your shadow while I'm student teaching, right down the road at a local elementary school? And as far as my memory goes, he'd never really had an assistant. And he said yes. And that really changed everything for me. I started every day. I would drive myself as fast as possible. I'd get to Large and Dyer, and I would listen. And he would bring me along slowly, and I started doing more and more things. But in 1999, he said, "Yes, come on out. You could be my assistant, and you could get a feel for how things work." And that's how things started for me.
And the rest was history, as they say.
I mean, it's been a pretty great ride because, of him and everything since.
Well, you took over and you were hired as the assistant in 1999, and you worked under Coach Peffel until 2008.
Yeah, 2008 was my first year as head coach. Coach
Right.
Peffel retired in 2007, and just in a matter of 8 years of being his assistant, it was like a master's course, watching and learning the finer things of it's funny, people, you want to talk about coaching baseball, there's a million other hats that coaches wear. You can imagine what it's like to coach in the inner city of Philadelphia, whether it's public, Catholic or a charter school.
Right.
Coaches got to wear, we're counselors, we're doctors, we're parents, we're dads,
right.
And a lot of that I didn't realize until I started coaching.
Can imagine, it's a lot more than just fundamentals and baseball and practice and games, and
that's the fun stuff.
You're dealing with, I don't know how many guys on the team.
We have anywhere from 15, and then because I'm the head varsity coach, I'm also the JV. Like I have to manage the whole program. Right. So, we're talking 30, 40 guys at least.
Right. And, like you said, in the inner city, it's, tough today where, some kids don't have fathers. And,
we have our challenges for sure.
Right. And it's, they look up to you, guidance and, especially it's just tough today for some of these kids coming up, and they need a mentor and somebody to look out for them. And
one thing that I've learned early on as a young guy, I learned that my job has to be, I have to be super consistent with what I do.
Right.
Whether it's discipline, whether it's love, whether it's being a little tough on these guys, I have to be consistent. I can't just, sway in too much, because I am who's going to be helping them get through things.
Oh,
So,
exactly. I mean,
right. So that's where I've been growing. Yep.
school wise, discipline, they need somebody to talk to, I'm sure some of the young guys, I mean, you're probably all they have, or all they had
Yeah.
in
I
the
mean,
past.
I would probably shock you with some of the tough situations we've come across. I mean,
Mhm.
I say we a lot. You're going to hear me say a lot tonight. Because my wife, she being a teacher at Frankford,
Right.
she plays a massive supportive role in that. She is also on the staff, if you will, as that team mom that she
Right.
lays down the law a little bit.
Oh,
She's incredibly academically gifted. So, some of the guys that we have
mhm.
need quite a bit of guidance in
Right.
more ways than just baseball. So that's where a lot of the hat wearing that comes into play for sure. But under
Mhm.
Coach Peffel, I learned a lot of those lessons, and that it just isn't what happens on a baseball field. It's
Right.
everything that leads up to that practice moment, and even after you go home. There's a lot
Right.
more to it.
Well, it's everyday life.
Yeah.
Got a couple comments coming in. It's my guy Sean Kilrain. What's up, Fuji? Sean does the old school show I was telling
Oh,
you
nice.
on the Out of the Box Sports Network with our colleague Joe Sullivan. Sean's question is, boy, has the division for public and Catholic league sports has changed. Do you agree?
Yeah, sure. The landscape has changed quite a bit. I think there's been a lot of different factors that have impacted. Um, I want to be really respectful of how I say this. There's a lot of different moving pieces to our city in Philadelphia as far as where kids can go, who they can play for. Um, Public schools like Frankford High School. I'm only going to talk about Frankford High School. We can only have kids on our team from a very small bubble from our zip code,
Right.
whereas other schools around the city, they can draw from the entire city. Um, and there were a lot less teams 15, 20, 25 years ago, even when I played. Now there's a whole bunch of more teams, charter schools, Catholic schools. So the talent is spread out. It is a challenge right now, and it is a little bit of an uphill battle for a lot of public schools. We're fortunate in that we can compete because we do have a year-round program.
Let me ask you this. I know you graduated in 95. I graduated 1991 from Father Judge myself. I mean, back then, as far as public schools, isn't there like a lot more public schools now because of like charter schools as well,
Yeah,
as
I mean,
opposed to back then?
yeah, no question about it. Right now, I want to say we have in the Philadelphia Public League, I think we have something roughly around 46 high school teams.
Wow.
Um, so if you could imagine, I want to say maybe back when I graduated in 95, we may have had 20, 25 teams,
Right.
give or take. So the talent was a lot more compact. It was very
Right.
much more competitive within that. And, you had teams like North Catholic, Father Judge, Doherty. Um, so they were incredibly competitive.
Right.
Now, all the way around, when you have 46 high schools, it is still competitive within the scope of the public league, but there's a lot of kids spread out all over the place versus I think there's only 16 Catholic League teams. So their talent is pretty condensed still. So they're very competitive.
Oh, I mean, back in our time, I mean, you had Cardinal Dockery and North Catholic, which are no longer in existence.
Right.
I
Right.
think last couple of years, I know, out in Montgomery County, Bishop McDevitt closed, and Sean checking in again said, "It's funny you bring that up. My cousins son plays for Fox Rock. Why is it they travel to South Philly to play in the area, and half the kids don't live in the area? It was always staying local. Which I know Fox Rock is like a mixture of Fox Chase and Rockledge, which
Right.
is like right, I believe the boundaries, Philly, Montgomery County area.
I don't have an answer to that. I just know that there's a lot of moving pieces in Philadelphia. So, for example, let me give you this little fun nugget for you to try and decipher. We teach in the Philadelphia public schools, but we play in the PIAA, right?
Mm-hmm.
The PIAA has a whole bunch of separate rules, and the public schools have different rules. So if you're a student in Philadelphia right now, as of like a couple years ago, you could attend any high school you want, regardless of where you live.
Right. Well,
but you can't play at every high school because the PIAA won't allow it. There's a lot of different components that we have to juggle.
Sean and I have this joke about Ryan versus Judge, where he goes, I graduated from Ryan in 96. 4-time Catholic League champs. Ain't that right, Fuge?
I mean, Ryan was always a powerhouse, still is. Obviously Judge is still a dominant program. So, the Catholic League is outstanding.
Right. Well, back then, I think right around, I don't know if it was right when you guys, you and Sean, you 95, him 96. Catholic school wise, you basically had to go to the high school in your own boundaries.
Yeah, they
changed it.
Yeah, that was the rule. And most of my friends either went to Frankford or went to North Catholic.
Right.
That's just the way it was.
Right. And like today, you could go anywhere.
Yep. And that's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets tricky, and you have to so many rules that you have to abide by, but you got to do it, and you got to figure it out.
I was actually going to say, does every public high school / charter high school, do they all have baseball teams, or would you say no?
I mean, not all, but most do. Most schools do have baseball programs to some capacity. Yeah.
So, Juan, you took over for Coach Peffel in 2008. Now, can you get into really where all the championship runs started?
I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you Coach Peffel left me a stacked team. Right when he retired, we were loaded, and we only graduated a couple kids. So the formula was in place, the culture was in place, and we were lucky enough to have won it in Coach Peffel's last year. And then in 2008, my first year, we were really good. I mean, we had some of the best baseball players that I could absolutely remember. And we were lucky enough to win a couple in a row. I think we were very lucky in that we won 2 3-peats over the last 10 years. And shortly after, we won a city championship. So it's been a good ride. It's been a really fun ride.
Now, do you have the most championships in the city, like city history?
According to some research that some other reporters have done, they brought that to my attention. Yeah, they said I do have the most total in the history of Philadelphia high school baseball.
That's a phenomenal accomplishment.
Thank you very much.
I'm got J-Roll checking in saying public school grad here from North Jersey. Our public champs play the Catholic League champs after they get a week of rest. Is Philly the same way?
So, you know what? For many years, unfortunately, it was a little bit like that, which was really unfortunate because you go through heck to get to the public league finals. and it's fairly condensed, and you're putting out the best that you have to win that public league title. And then there were years where we had a game the next day, or we had a game 2 days later. And unfortunately, the Catholic League was sitting there for a good week rested, just because they got done a little bit earlier than us. So yeah, that's been an unfortunate kind of difference between the two leagues, where it's been a challenge to compete.
Right. Actually, wanted to bring up the clip you sent me with Coach Peffel here.
Yeah.
And was this your first title?
No,
back?
So this was I want to say this was around 2004-ish, 2003-ish, right in the middle of a pretty great run, where Coach Peffel and that young man in the middle is Joe Farina, who was one of the best athletes that ever came through Frankford, and obviously myself. But that was in the middle of when things started really going well for Frankford.
Okay, and I wanted to get into a little bit of a couple of your clips here from your high school championships, and if you could talk a little bit about this picture here.
So that picture was taken moments after we had what some would consider an improbable victory over St. Joe's Prep 2017. Okay. We won the city championship it really was a terrific season for a great group of kids that put it together at the right time, and you get to compete against the best of the best in the city. And that particular day we played really, really well, and things went our way, and it was a nail biter at the very end, and we proceeded to close the game out. But that's one of those special games.
Okay, and just wanted to dive in a couple more. I believe this is you and the fellas down in Disney.
Yeah, I mean, we something that I'm extremely proud about. We our baseball team has been traveling to spring training in Florida, in Disney, for over 20 years.
Nice.
We work really, really hard all year long, and we work our tails off. We fundraise. We have help from a lot of people, and we go down to Florida and we work our tails off for a week getting ready. You're at one point we were literally sharing the fields with the Atlanta Braves.
Nice.
Part of the trip, though, it isn't all work.
Right.
My excitement is, some of these kids, they get to meet Mickey Mouse for the first time. They get to see things that perhaps they may not have an opportunity to see. So right. This is one of my favorite pictures where these guys, they worked hard, and right. It's our guys. And my son is actually in this picture because he was my assistant this particular year. This is what we do it for. It's not just all baseball, but right. This is part of it.
Just wanted to touch on the one other picture of you here, or the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
PMY World of Sports.
So the facilities down in Disney. Yeah, honest to God, they are professional baseball facilities. They've hosted the Atlanta Braves for 20 years. They hosted the Tampa Bay Rays for the last couple years. And in fact, when the Rays stadium was damaged due to
the hurricane,
the Disney facility was a finalist to actually. It wasn't until they settled with Steinbrenner facility, the Yankees. But right. That's how good these facilities are. And this is Champion Stadium, where if you're lucky enough, and we've certainly, just from going down there so many years, a lot of our games end up being in Champion Stadium. Right. Just think, like these kids that, we're from Philly, and we do our best. We have modest settings, but that's where we get to start our season. And it's a pretty special thing.
Right. I think we got another comment coming in here. Excuse me, Sean, touching on look at LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep recruiting out of the area. It's not.
I am going to address that a little bit, because I think schools like LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep, I think there's a little misunderstanding. Like, and I know some people are going to like turn their heads at me or give me a side eye because I'm a public league guy, but it's not so much recruiting, right? And I'll talk about Frankford. When you have a winning program, people want to be a part of that program, right? People just assume that LaSalle goes out and they go get kids, or St. Joe's Prep goes out and they go get kids. Where in reality, a lot of kids and a lot of families, they want to be a part of that. So they reach out, they do what they can to put themselves in that position. I don't begrudge anybody in the Catholic League or any other public school. I think people get confused and they assume when you win, you recruit. It's not necessarily the case all the time. A lot of times, it's just kids that want to be a part of something and they figure out a way to get there. Right. And of course, like, LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep win a lot. But my philosophy at Frankford has always been winning breeds winning. The more you win, the more people want to be a part of that program, the more you're going to win, and that's kind of how it goes. And, I can't begrudge high schools for being good and working hard. I get a lot of players that come in from 8th grade, from 9th grade, because they want to be a part of a team that goes to Florida, that, we have really nice uniforms. We work all year round. We have a ton of support from our staff, from our families. Our field's nice. Can I blame a kid who lives in North Philly or West Philly and wants to be a part of that?
Not at all.
Right.
I mean, hey, why not? It's a winning program. You want to
be a part of that. You want to be a part. If kids see that they have an opportunity to get better, to play, to get seen by colleges, they
showcase their talent.
They want to be a part of that.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, when you're on the outside of some of these programs, you just want to point the finger and say, "Hey, look, they're recruiting." When in reality, are they just winning and people want to be a part of that?
No, can't really. You can't fault anybody. I mean, it's if you been talented through Pop Warner or Little League baseball, and and your child knows they're going to be good. I mean, why not? Right. Take a shot. I mean, that could be your only way to the big time.
The one thing that people kind of get a little confused in that public schools, we have a ton of rules that we have to live by. That's one thing. Right. Not unfortunately, wrong choice of words. Catholic schools have a little more laxed boundaries. So they play by those rules. It doesn't mean they're doing something wrong. It just means that they're playing within their scope of the rules. Right. We just have to figure out a way to compete at a higher level.
Also, you got J-Roll commenting again saying, got to start following Philly high school baseball more. Good luck, Coach.
I appreciate that, J-Roll. It means the world to me. We are lucky in that we have a pretty good following. Our home games are pretty well attended. It's kind of fun for the kids to have that kind of support from the community.
I had one last question about Frankford baseball. Now,
ask away.
Touched on them like Bobby Higginson. Now, to any, not just the famous folks that went to famous folks who went to Frankfurt, but do you have a lot of old school alumni that come out to support the baseball team?
Baseball alumni are tremendous. Baseball alumni. And one of my favorite things that happens every spring without fail, somebody will drive by the field that played for me or played for Coach Peffel, whenever, the last 20, 30 years. And they will get out of their car and they will come over, give hugs, we'll hug and shake hands. And they will I will have the team, whatever drill we're working on, whatever it is we're working on, everything just stops. They come over and whoever this person is, they will come over and just chat for a minute or two about what it was like for them to walk on that field and how much it meant to them looking back.
Right.
And it's an unbelievable sense of family anytime a baseball alum comes back.
Nice.
It certainly means the world to us as far as how much relationships we've built over those years, as far as that is concerned. Not regular, but Frankford alum, different story.
Sean's chiming in again and says, Juan, you being a coach of baseball, what do you address on the Phillies this offseason if you were the manager? Who stays, and who goes?
It's a little bit of a loaded question. Are we going to talk Phillies now? Or you want to get into a little?
Oh, I was about to jump right into the fire with the Phillies with you.
Sure.
So, that's it. The time's yours.
No. Listen, one of the first things I do is I bring in Don Mattingly. That's one of the absolute.
That's been mentioned. Not to interrupt you. I mean, I forget his son's name, but his son's ahead of the.
But that's what makes so much
department.
sense. That's what makes so much sense. You have a guy that is, one of the greatest baseball minds of all time in Major League Baseball, who just stepped away from a team that played in the World Series, who has a massive amount of pedigree and some connection to Rob Thompson through the Yankees.
Right.
It has to start from the top down. But as far as the Phillies are a great organization. They are the gold standard as far as how they treat people. They are remarkable at having things feel like a family. So, it's tough sometimes to make some tough decisions. But, to figure out what happens in this offseason, that's going to be you got to be smart, and you have to bring back the guys that you can continue to build around. And there's certainly a bunch of guys that they have.
I don't really want to fire him. I'm going to fire it out anyway.
Go ahead.
Just being the Phillies fans that we are. I mean, you brought Rob Thompson back last year. Guy's a good regular season manager, but just my opinion.
Sure.
To me, the guy just can't manage in the postseason. Maybe you could touch on it.
I want to disagree slightly with you.
That's okay.
Respectfully, I think Rob Thompson is a brilliant manager, and I think what we've seen over the last couple seasons has been an unfortunate set of bad timing, right? Because not everybody has done probably what they are capable of doing in that window of time. I would like to believe that if one or two different guys have one or two moments in the playoffs where they shine just a little bit more, I think it could have been the Phillies beating the Toronto Blue Jays.
I didn't mean to call you off. Go ahead.
No.
I got the Philly fan coming out of me, not the host.
No, and that's okay. But the thing is that's our job as a head coach, Rob Thompson. It comes down to our decisions, and we're the ones that have to live with those decisions. But I do believe he is an unbelievably gifted manager who's rightfully so being nominated for Coach of the Year.
Well, I don't know if you remember Steve Jeltz played in the mid-'80s with the Phillies. I talked to him every so often. We've had him on Patterson Avenue Fanatics, and we had him on Sully Squad. And my conversation with Steve Jeltz, and he always said that Rob Thompson's a great manager, but the analytics today is just overbearing. And
no, I agree. There has to be an incredibly fine line of juggling all the data that coaches get, right? And your decisions can't be dictated always by numbers. There has to be some of the greatest managers of all time, Joe Torre, there has to be a gut feeling from time to time. There has to be, history as far as, boy, this worked before, maybe this will work again. There has to be the ability to make a decision on the fly that isn't solely based on numbers. And I think hopefully we're finding some kind of middle ground with that. Some coaches live and die by the analytics, and others perhaps not so much, and you have to balance.
Well, the thing of it is, being a couple throwbacks and analytics, to me, you could just point blank, I'll say flush it down the toilet, because to me, you don't see fundamentals anymore. You don't see guys dropping a bunt. You don't see nobody stealing. You don't see no hit and run. It's all glitz and glamour hitting the long ball and being on ESPN highlight reels, which, get to me, it makes me sick because I can't stand it. I just can't. It's a joke. I'm sorry.
I feel your frustration.
Now you're getting my fire in me.
Yeah, you are fired up.
Which I appreciate, because, hey, people love when I get fired up.
It's okay.
Here it is.
It's good. It's good. I do agree with you. I do agree with you to an extent. But here's the thing. We've been using analytics for a very long time in baseball. Just not to the heavy extent now. There's baseball has evolved into different philosophies lately, where like a bunt is giving up an out and managers don't want to give up an out, which sometimes I disagree with. My dad, one of the absolute without fail advice that he gave me growing up, he said, "Son, I don't care if you're Babe Ruth or Ricky Henderson, you have to bunt the ball when it's needed," which now is unheard of, right? For certain guys. But, and I'll give you an example of, from time to time, you'll see Bryce Harper square around and try and lay down a bunt. And that's brilliant to me, because the point is, let me get on base for the next guy. I think that's what the 08 team, right? The World Series Phillies team that was so good, is that they had that philosophy of the next guy will get it done. I just have to set the table. And they just went through the order of, all right, I'm going to get on and let the next guy drive me in. And I'm going to get – it wasn't, right now baseball is living a little too tight. And again, we're analytics driven, and we have to find that middle ground. But it is a little frustrating, if you will, when the philosophies have gone so far in one direction, when you could tinker a little bit.
I know. I'm just decompressing a little bit.
It's all good.
Well, let me say this. My generation, the guys will appreciate it. Guys, girls. You see, 8 years old, and I saw the Phillies win the World Series, and, Pete Rose was such a catalyst. It was a privilege to see Pete Rose play, Michael Jack Schmidt, Steve Carlton. People can say what they want about Pete, whether he gambled, nice guy, not so nice, but never see a guy play the game like Pete Rose, like the 7th game in the World Series. Right. It was a privilege to watch Pete Rose, because you don't see nobody play the game like that maybe few and far between, but there'll never be another Peter Edward Rose / Charlie Hustle.
That's a pretty fair statement. One thing that I do with my baseball players, I push as hard as I can for them to watch certain guys. Obviously, they're limited as to how far they could watch and how much relevance it makes. Right. So maybe you may disagree with me a little bit, but to me, that's Bryce Harper now. And in recent, I will tell our guys, you watch how hard he plays on a day-to-day basis, which is a lot like Pete Rose, where the minute he hits a ball in play, he's thinking, how can I get to the next base? And he's legging out doubles. And some people say, why is he running that out? But most major league outfielders aren't even going to think that he's going to go to second base, right? Or that's kind of what Pete Rose used to do all the time.
All right.
Those are the examples. Like Bryce Harper, for me, I'll point to him, to my guys all day and go, that's how you're supposed to play.
Oh,
that kind of your hair's on fire type of attitude.
Oh, exactly.
And that's what Pete Rose used to do, for sure. That's Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, like you said, all the right names there.
Oh, three Hall of Famers. Mike Schmidt, hands down, the best third baseman ever played a game.
Brilliant.
A-Rod could have all his. Well, I'll leave that for another time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was Pete Rose will get hit by a pitch, look at the pitcher like USOB, throw the bat and haul his ass down the first
Sure.
baseline.
Yeah.
Like
that's a free base. That's what we preach.
Right.
Take what the game gives you.
Exactly.
That's something that I was taught by my dad and by Coach Beffel all the time. Take what the game gives you.
Great analogy when you really look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
take what it does give you.
Listen, the formula to winning in any baseball game at any level is simple. If you can steal a couple outs and you can steal a couple runs, you're going to win the game.
Well, Juan, I wanted to get into the fantasy. You working for the Phillies now that we can put the Philly fan aside for the duration of the show. Talk about how you got started with the Phillies organization.
Well, the Phillies fantasy camp was something that I was a part of for a very long time, and they're partners and all that. And I had the absolute best luck of a young guy really getting into coaching by being around some of the greatest baseball minds. Every January, late January, I would get to go to Florida, and I would assist guys like Milt Thompson, Mariano Duncan on a yearly basis to the point where we're now friends.
Right.
But part of my responsibilities would be to assist Mike Schmidt during a hitting clinic, or stand by Steve Carlton and listen to him putting on a pitching clinic. Right. And as a young guy, coaching, I'm mental notes and I'm bringing all that back. But Milt Thompson, at one point, and in my regard, is a brilliant hitting instructor that in 2008 was huge for the Phillies in winning the World Series.
Right.
And I got to work alongside him, under him for 10 years more, just listening to him talk philosophy and little nuances of hitting that you're like, my God, I've never even thought about this. And you steal as many ideas as possible and bring them home.
Matter of fact, I wanted to pull up the photo with Milt Thompson. I take it he was at Frankford High School.
So here's the kind of guy he is. So I befriended him and I assisted him, and we were co-workers, and and then we become friends, and you talk outside of baseball. And then he says, hey, if you ever want me to work with your guys at Frankford, it would be my pleasure. And I would never in a million years bother him. And he would be like, no, I'm serious. It's the least I could do for you and everything that you do. So he, from absolutely on a yearly basis, will either come to Frankfurt and put on hitting clinics for my guys, or there was one time where literally on Super Bowl Sunday, I'll never forget this. He was like, hey, I have use of Citizens Bank Park batting cages. You want to bring the baseball team down and we'll just hit for a while and work through them? And here's Frankford High School at Citizens Bank Park inside the cages with Milt Thompson, a major league hitting coach, just working on cleaning things up before the season. That's the kind of guy he is.
Wow.
So
really nice.
Right. I mean, how kind of a human being is he in that? But you know what? He's actually a friend. And when I think, you're going to ask, but when I was sick, he was one of the first phone calls I got.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the bonuses of what I got to do with Phillies Fantasy Camp, is that I got to work with guys like him and listen and learn and just become better.
Right. Actually, wanted to pull up the one picture you have here with old lefty Steve Carlton down in fantasy camp.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things with him is it doesn't matter how old, whether working with Mike Schmidt or Steve Carlton or anybody, they're sharp as could possibly be, and their philosophies, being Hall of Famers, are second to none. And any chance you get to pick the brain or to listen, And that, we were having a pretty good conversation here about, and I'll never forget this moment, about why speed in pitching is sometimes even more effective, speed changes, than movement. And, as a young coach, sometimes you hear stuff that rocks you a little bit, and you're like, okay, never really thought about it that way, and it stays with you.
Right. I think we have another comment coming in here. Sean Kilrain saying, great show, guys. Good luck with your upcoming baseball.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited for this year.
And, as you talked, about the fantasy camp, and then you were doing other positions with the Phillies as well, if you could get into that.
No, so it's been really, really a great partnership. I have one of my closest friends is John Joaquin of the Philadelphia Phillies, and we've worked really well together for a long time. He has been a huge help with inner city baseball, reviving baseball in the inner city with the RBI program. He has been a huge push to get our kids to play more baseball, and he has also allowed me to do some great things with the Phillies as far as coaching clinics for coaches, for players. But I've had a really fun ride where I've gotten to be, years back, I've gotten to be an interpreter for a lot of their Spanish players, where before Major League Baseball mandated that every team had one. It was nice that when there was kids camps that would come into Citizens Bank, they didn't have anybody to allow their Spanish players to have a voice. So I just, we connected. We had a great relationship already. It was very natural and fluid. And I just started being a translator impromptu on random days that they wanted guys to talk. I would just show up and be a voice, and I had a great time doing it. And it's nice when you get to sit next to Carlos Ruiz and get to ask him questions that somebody's asking, but you also get to hear the answer. And it's a really cool moment. Freddie Galvis, Maikel Franco, guys from that generation where I got to work alongside for a little bit. It was pretty great.
When you mentioned Chooch, Carlos Ruiz, did you have a conversation with him with, catching Roy Halladay during the perfect game in the
all the
no-hitter?
Every chance I got to pick his brain when, before questions were asked, or, if we had a couple quiet moments. So one of my favorite things, not to go off topic, but waiting to go onto the little podium, the little desk that they have with the Phillies backdrop, waiting to go out there.
In the press room?
In the press room. We're outside, and it just so happens that my middle son, Derek, was a catcher growing up. And I got to pick his brain on Derek's behalf. And, that kind of personal connection was incredibly special to me. But then you can ask a question as a person to person about, hey, catching a legend like Roy Halladay. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the cool things? Or, and I remember him telling me one time how the brilliance of Roy Halladay, like just always pitching significantly ahead of in that moment. You don't realize it's a giant chess game, and guys like Roy, they're that's what makes them so great, is that they're Greg Maddux calling his own game, and based on how he caught the ball from the catcher, little things like that you don't ever really know until you actually hear.
Oh, if you go back to 2008, during that 5-year run, I mean, Chooch was such a great battery mate with that whole pitching staff. And, well, I'm going back Jamie Moyer, Cole Hamels, Brett Myers.
as far as the term professional hitter, right? Guys in Major League Baseball that are outstanding hitters are called. He was the epitome of what a professional catcher was supposed to be.
Right.
His intelligence on how to attack the opposing team, his preparation. I can't begin to tell you how unbelievable he was and how great he was to catch for these guys, because he was just elite behind the plate.
Right.
Like, some people don't understand how important a catcher is. You have JT now, obviously, Darren Daulton, back,
Bob Boone,
Boone, Lieberthal. Like, these are special guys that have come through an organization. Not every organization can say behind the plate, look who we've had. But Chooch is amongst like the all-timers in Philadelphia.
All right, because, I mean, you talk getting back to the Roy Halladay conversation, I believe he bought Chooch like a custom-made Rolex for catching both the perfect game and the no-hitter.
If you ask anybody from that age within the Phillies, they'll tell you that what that one thing you could point to for everybody's success is Carlos Ruiz.
Right. Wow. Quarterback of the field.
He was that common denominator that everybody would say that's the reason why we had so much success on the mound. Obviously, those guys were gifted pitchers, right? I mean, that pitching lineup was insane, but the guy behind the plate, man, was special.
Wow, no
he
doubt.
Was outrageous.
No doubt. I mean, it takes a special kind of person to, be the quarterback of the baseball field.
Think about
exactly what the catcher does.
Think about the trust level where I can't tell you how many times he was shaken off by these guys. Very rarely did you see a pitcher say no, unless it was a designed shakeoff. Right. And that says a lot. That says a whole lot. JT is very similar.
Right.
Where that's a whole level of respect.
Oh, big time. Because, it's like you said, it's got to be a special kind of player to be a catcher.
Yeah, no question.
Calling a game, especially winning the World Series or multiple,
and being durable in that position, going through what they go through every night, just about. Yeah, that takes a lot. That's a special human being.
Right.
That's why you think fondly of Darren Daulton, and guys like that are just constantly getting beat up. And there they are the next night. JT, what he's gone through in the last couple of years.
Right. Well, I'm 35 years old this year. And well, you mentioned, I just want to touch on Darren Daulton got arrested. So, 7, 8, 9 knee operations.
Right. There's another amazing human being that when you got to know, I was fortunate enough to get to know him on a personal level down in Florida where there's no cameras, there's no, people aren't, you're just sitting having a conversation from time to time, and just a real guy, nice, kind, warm, wanted to talk ball. Just, a lot of those guys just love talking ball. And that's what made it really, really special to be around.
All right. It's I lost my train of thought for a second.
Oh, good.
I know I was jumping on something else as far as Phillies related, but oh my God.
It's all good. Whatever.
No, I know. I know we got a couple minutes here before we wrap up. I don't know. I had a question, and I can't remember. When you said Darren Daulton, then let's just get into the fightings. So, well, the report came out a couple hours ago that the Phillies made one-year offers to both Kyle Schwarber and Ranger Suarez at $22.5 million, which, I could see Ranger, but Kyle Schwarber,
if you're asking me, it's just not. That's not going to cut it. Kyle Schwarber is one of the best power hitters in all of Major League Baseball right now.
Oh, right, MVP candidate, hands down.
There's no, you can't explain it any other way other than, and you know what he did this year that just kind of, he's going to blow that number out of the water is he did it against left-handed pitchers too. It's not that he's a one swing guy. He hit what 14, 18 home runs or whatever it was off of lefties. Right. It's not that easy to do, and he did it all year long. So that number, unfortunately, is likely not to work. Ranger could be a starter for many teams in Major League Baseball. But he's very comfortable here. So you hope maybe that gives you a fighting chance.
Plus, he also hired Scott Boras, I believe, in the middle of
Well,
the season. So you know how that goes.
yeah, yeah.
And
But I would love to have, obviously, as a
mhm.
fan, I would love to have pretty much all those guys back.
Yeah, exactly. But
As a coach and as a guy who knows just a hair of somehow how things work, it's just not going to happen.
I'll say this. I mean, you already got Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, and Aaron Nola combined at least making over $700 million. Me, and this is no disrespect to Kyle Schwarber, I wouldn't give him 5 years. I mean, hell, I was thinking maybe 3 year would have three with a fourth year option because what is he, 32, 33 years old? And you definitely gotta bring JT back because you really have no contingency plan in place.
Right.
Because I don't think Marchand's really ready to take on this.
I can't speak on what anybody's thinking, but in my mind, as a fan, strictly as a fan, I would like to see Kyle Schwarber end his career here.
Well,
That
right.
that's pretty much what should be happening. Hopefully,
Mhm.
that's what we get.
Right.
As a person who's looking at it from baseball perspective, he is so valuable in that locker room.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I would make him top priority for sure. I'm sure a lot of other organizations are doing that, but as
Oh, of
far as I'm
course.
concerned, he has to be one of those guys that you go, yeah, we're gonna have to bite the bullet on this one and bring him back.
I mean, not the. I mean, we could sit all here all night and talk shop, but I mean,
Right.
this team needs a right-handed batter, right-handed
Yeah.
bat, and they
Yeah.
have needed it.
It's there's a couple pieces out there that they could
Right.
juggle with, but I there's a couple others that I'm curious how they play out before they even get to free agency.
I mean, I'll say that one last thing on Schwarber. No disrespect against Bryce, but Kyle Schwarber was a catalyst to this team.
Yeah, I will say this. I think you see Bryce Harper back to form next year.
I
That's my
hope.
prediction. My prediction is that he will be right back to that elite level player. It's just what I see. I started seeing. I look for the little things like his swing.
Mhm.
Certain things he was doing. I just see him as getting right back to that level of elite hitting
I
next year. I think you will see that.
I get a little aggravated because he talks about a contract extension, and it's like you got 6 years left. You haven't
Right.
won anything, and it just seems like his body's breaking down. Which I hate to say it, but
No, I do hear that, but you know what? It's a business, and these guys
oh,
talk business. They have to. That's
mm,
the thing. But I hear you. I
oh,
hear
I
you.
mean, coming from the Philly fan perspective, if you will.
Right. Right.
Oh, Juan, I know 2-3 minutes was seems more like the last 6 or 7 I took
It's
over
all good.
on
This was a
my end.
pleasure. This was very great.
Oh, I deeply appreciate you coming on and just taking your time out. I know you're
Before
busy
I leave,
schedule.
you gotta let me just mention real quick our Coaches versus Cancer Baseball Fest.
Oh,
Is that all right?
hey,
It's one of my
absolutely.
it's one of my passion in that my wife and I created this 1 day baseball fest where a bunch of teams get together and we play just for fun. It's not a tournament, but the point is to raise money. And this coming year, our third year, we got not just public league teams. We have teams from around the area, Upper Dublin, state champs, St. Joe's Prep, Harriton. We have a bunch of other schools and public league teams that we have a good time for the ability to raise money for cancer awareness in the American Cancer Society. So hopefully you and I can connect before the
Yeah,
event in April.
definitely.
And if anybody who's watching, if they want to get involved, I'll explain that down the road. But just it's called Philadelphia High School Baseball Fest, Coaches versus Cancer. So I
Word.
appreciate you letting me plug that.
Oh, anytime. I mean, where does it take place?
So we play at the Philadelphia Phillies Urban Youth Academy down in South Philly, the Richie Ashburn and
Oh,
Dickie Allen Fields. And the Phillies are one of
Right.
our main title sponsors. They support it from top to bottom.
right.
We also have another company, Johnson, Kendall and Johnson, and they are our title sponsor.
Okay.
Really, really strong financial backing. So we definitely got to thank them. But thank you, and that'll be in April. And you and I will connect before then.
Oh, I'd like to partake in it myself.
I would love for you to come.
I don't know. I know I can't run the bases, but I still got a
all
little
good.
bit left in the swinging the bat.
But I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. I know, we've connected the last few weeks, and I want to thank my dear best friend Mike Sherman, of
Appreciate it.
linking us up, and
thank you. We'll talk a lot more Phillies as they get going here, and then as we get going in April, we'll connect again.
Absolutely. Well, Juan, I want to thank you coming on tonight, and
thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you chopping it up, and we'll definitely have you back on very soon.
Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah. Philly streets got a story to tell. Golden sun breaks the Liberty Bell. From the Trattoria to the stoop outside, feel good vibes in the city's pride. Fuji's Philly Flare, oh, it's everywhere. Good news flying like hands in the air. Hip hop grooves with a twist so rare. Fuji's Philly Flare, we're living the care.
Well, there you have it, folks. Mr. Juan Nammun, head coach of the Frankford Baseball Pioneers. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening. Hope everybody has a blessed weekend. Enjoy the weather. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Take care.